We've all seen the headlines. The news is screaming that we're in a loneliness epidemic. They tell us 1 in 4 people feel completely cut off from the world, and they frame it like it's some kind of social disaster. But if you're the type of person who looked at your phone, saw a mountain of messages, and simply chose to hit ignore, or maybe even block, you know the truth. You aren't lonely. You're finally breathing. Most people think cutting ties with others is a sign that something is broken. But what if it's actually the healthiest thing you've ever done? Let's talk about why you became the person who walks away and never looks back. You weren't always like this. Remember back when you were the go-to person? The one who stayed up until 3 a.m. listening to the same drama? The one who soaked up everyone's problems like a human sponge? You were the emotional safety net for everyone around you. You gave and you gave and you gave. But one day, the battery just hit zero. And here's the beauty of it. When you finally stopped answering, the world didn't crumble. You realized that your absence didn't destroy anything. It just gave you your life back. Some call this isolation, but let's be honest. That's just a way to make you feel guilty for setting boundaries. The real reason you stepped back is a biological survival mechanism. Think of it like a protection mode. When people have been draining you dry for years, your brain doesn't ask for a meeting to discuss feelings. It just pulls the plug. It's like a circuit breaker in your house. When the power gets too high, it trips to prevent a fire. You're doing the exact same thing to prevent an emotional burnout. You're not being mean, you're being smart. But how did we get here? It's rarely about the last person you cut off. It's about the first ones you had to deal with. Maybe you were the kid who had to read the room before your parents even took off their coats. You learned early on that if you were quiet, if you were perfect, if you were invisible, you could keep the peace. You became an expert at sensing tension before anyone opened their mouth. That's a massive skill, but it comes at a price. You spent your youth carrying the mood of your home on your shoulders. You didn't just learn to read people, you learned to survive them. And now, as an adult, that same skill is your superpower and your defense. When someone new enters your life, your brain is doing a lightning-fast scan. Is this person safe? Are they going to take more than they give? It's not paranoia, it's pattern recognition. You've seen the love bombers, you've spotted the friends who only show up when they need a favor, and you've identified the family members who make every conversation a transaction. You aren't judging them. You're just reading the data you've collected over a lifetime. Now, let's get into the scary part that the media loves to use: the health risks. They'll tell you that being alone causes heart disease and stress. And sure, prolonged isolation isn't great, but they always forget to mention one crucial detail. Being surrounded by people who treat you like a doormat is infinitely more damaging to your health than sitting at home with a cup of tea and a quiet mind. There's a world of difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is a hunger for connection you can't find. Solitude is the luxury of finally being able to hear your own thoughts without someone else screaming over them. So, if you've decided to be selective, you're doing it right. You've learned that your peace is a finite resource, and it's not for sale. When you stop trying to please everyone, you suddenly have energy for the 2 or 3 people who actually deserve your time. You aren't building a wall to hide, you're building a sanctuary to thrive. The next time someone tells you that you're being antisocial, just smile. You aren't the one who is failing at relationships, you're the one who finally stopped settling for the wrong ones. You've traded the chaos of being seen for the sanctuary of being yourself. And let me tell you, that's not a loss. That's the biggest win of your life. If you felt that relief, that clarity, that sudden quiet, you're doing just fine. Welcome to the other side.